Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create flawless base. So foundation and concealer, I'm going to show you how to make everything look perfect. Also, if you have dry skin like myself, I'm going to be giving you a few extra tips along the way. So let's get into the video. Okay, so the first step to creating flawless foundation, particularly for people with dry skin, is to exfoliate your face. Wash your face every morning, and if you do have drier skin, I would say to exfoliate as well. Of course, if you have sensitive skin, use a light exfoliation, or you don't have to exfoliate every day if it's too harsh on your skin. For my skin, I have dry skin and it's pretty tough, so it can take exfoliating every morning that I'm going to put makeup on, which might not be every morning of the week, maybe 4 times a week, 4 to 5. So yeah, that's the first step to kind of creating a nice smooth base for your makeup to apply on top of. And I think that's so important when you're trying to get flawless foundation, is you need to have a good base underneath. Next, you're going to want to moisturize, and hopefully if time allows, you can moisturize and then leave 20 to 30 minutes before actually applying your makeup. So what I do in the morning is I get up first thing and I will wash my face, and then I will moisturize and put eye cream on, and then I will kind of get ready for the day, like get dressed and eat breakfast, and then I will put my makeup on. So I use the Clinique Pep-Start Hydrorush Moisturiser. This has an SPF of 15, but you can get it without the SPF. I really like this moisturiser, especially if you are younger. I think it's a great moisturiser for young skin. And I have dry skin, and I thought I had to get something really rich and, you know, something marketed as really moisturizing and something crazy expensive. That's where I go to when I think of a good moisturizer. But thankfully the lady at Clinique stopped me and said, "You're young, I'm 24, so, and I don't have many wrinkles, I just have dry skin patches occasionally." So she recommended this and I really like it. So I've nearly finished it and I'll definitely be repurchasing. So for moisturizing under the eyes, this is really important to me because I have really dry under eyes. Like, to the touch, just normally they feel fine, but then once you put makeup on them, they get so dry. It really drives me insane. Anyway, I'm using the Clinique Pep-Start eye cream. I actually got this in a free gift with purchase when I purchased the moisturizer. And I just am kind of using this because I was in between eye creams, and it's pretty good. It's creamy. It doesn't help really with dark circles or anything, but I think it does moisturize pretty good. Okay, so after we've moisturized and we've let that sink into our skin, we're going to go in with primer. This is also really important. Now, for people with dry skin, you would preferably like something more hydrating. So I like the Napoleon Perdis Autopilot Pre-Foundation. You've seen me use this before on my channel. It's really nice creamy consistency. It does help with the longevity of your makeup, and it hydrates the skin. If you're more oily, I like the Benefit Porefessional. Sometimes even for me with dry skin, I can just pop this on my cheeks. My cheeks aren't particularly dry. Where your pores are, maybe on the nose, on your chin, that kind of area, you can use the Porefessional, and especially if you have oily skin, this will be great for that. What I'm also going to do is take a small little bit of the Napoleon Perdis primer, like a really tiny little bit, and dab it just like I would eye cream underneath my eyes. This is going to help our concealer sit better under the eyes. Then after all the primer is on, you've got to let that set for a few minutes before we go into makeup. I know this is a long process, but the product really needs to sink into your skin to work effectively. Okay, so after the primer has set into the skin, we're going to go in with either. You can go in straight away with foundation, which is what I do most days, or if you have more problematic skin, you've got redness you want to cover, pimples you want to cover, you can go in with a concealer or corrector first. So I really like the Cinema Secrets concealers. This comes in a little pan like this. I got it from Camerata Cosmetics, and although it's a cream, it's really light and creamy. It's not thick and cakey, which is sometimes what we think of when we think of a cream product, particularly cream concealer. This goes on really, really nice and kind of blends into the skin really nice. So I'd recommend using this with your fingers if you want to really blend that in seamlessly. It works really well. Or you could use a brush. I like the Real Techniques pointed foundation brush. It's quite small. I would never put foundation on with this, like it would take me forever. But for like concealing and spot concealing, it's really good. So what I'm going to do actually is take the lightest shade, and I'm just going to apply it on some redness on my cheek. I don't know if you can really see it on the camera, but I do have redness on my cheeks. And I just want to show you how this product will work. Now with concealer, it doesn't have to be blended in perfectly. Obviously we're going to put foundation over the top. I'm just going to kind of roughly blending it in where I need it. This is probably more than I would usually do every day, but for the sake of this video I thought it was good to show. Now that we've got that light creamy concealer on here, we're actually going to use less foundation, which is really good, both for it'll take you longer to use up your foundation and you won't feel like you have as much product on the skin. This is a really lightweight product. Next, after the concealer is on, we're going to go with the foundation. Again, if you need to, you can skip the concealer step. You can just go straight to foundation. I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me Foundation. I'm going to be using the Dewy and Smooth, which is for normal to dry skin, and mixing in a little bit of matte and poreless, which is normal to oily. There is no reason to this other than I need to mix the two colours together because I'm currently in between the two shades. I really like both of these foundations actually. I think they both work really well on my skin, which is surprising for the matte and poreless, because it's for oily, normal to oily skin, but it does work really well. I don't particularly think it clings to dry patches unless my skin is extremely dry. So I really like mixing the two together actually. I feel like you get the best of both worlds. Yeah, so I'm going to mix them together and apply them to my face. Now the best thing about this foundation is, well, number one, it's really affordable, but it is kind of full coverage, but also it's full coverage without being heavy, so it looks really natural on the skin, and that's my favorite kind of look with foundation. Okay, so when you're applying your foundation, you want to apply to, when you first pick up the product from your brush or you've got it on your fingers, pop the most foundation where you need the most coverage. For me, it's my cheeks, and then kind of work your way out and around the rest of your face. I'm going to be using a brush on one side, and then I'm going to be using a beauty blender on the other, just to show different ways that you can work with foundation. So when I'm working with a brush, I initially will put the product on, kind of swipe it around, and then I'll kind of pat it into my skin. If we're just constantly swiping and dragging our skin, the product is not going to go in as flawlessly. It might get a little bit streaky. For me, I love working with my foundation brush, and I can kind of work and blend it in really well. But for other people, you may prefer the Beauty Blender, especially those with dry skin. So I'm going to use the Beauty Blender on the other half of my face and blend it in. But as you can see from the difference, this side is nice and flawless. And then this side's a little bit more uneven. Okay, so on this side, I'm going to go in with my damp Beauty Blender. And there we go, we've got the two sides. As you can see, the foundation side is going to be, the foundation brush side is going to be a little bit heavier, whereas the Beauty Blender side is a little bit more natural. So that's kind of the difference between the two ways you can apply. So it depends the kind of look that you want to get. But so far the base is flawless. I really recommend those two tools, the Beauty Blender or a flat top Kabuki brush, for really being able to blend out the foundation nice and evenly and to help create that perfect base. Okay, so once our foundation is done, the next step traditionally would be to powder and set our foundation in place. For me with dry skin, I actually don't need powder. I can use a really light powder and it won't make me look too dry, but I particularly don't think I need it personally, sorry. I can just get away with the setting spray, which I'll show you later on. But for me, I'm going to go straight in with concealer. So for people who have really dark circles, I would go back to getting a cream concealer corrector, something that's really lightweight. I have to stress it has to be lightweight, or you have to use the tiniest amount, because otherwise it'll just get cakey and crease. But I really like the Cinema Secrets palette, again, the concealer palette, and it's a shade here, it's almost like a salmony shade. I think I've used it in my videos before, but usually I will apply it under my eye around here. Today I'm not going to do that because it's not too dark. I might just apply a little bit just so you can see how the product works. Okay, I'm just going to take the tiniest bit on my finger. And then I'm just going to blend that in with my finger. My finger is warm, it's going to warm up the product and really melt it into the skin. And I like to work fast at this step. I don't like to leave anything there to kind of crease up. There we go, instantly my eyes look brighter. I really love that product. You can stop there if you want, or if you do like concealer and you want to brighten up that area a little bit more, you can go in with concealer, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use the Nars Radient Creamy Concealer. I really like this product, however I do think the Maybelline Fit Me concealer is just as good as this. It's just kind of a matter of finding the right shade and what works well for you. And that's kind of what makeup is all about, especially when you're trying to create flawless makeup. You really need to find products that you really love and really work well with your skin. But anyway, I'm going to go in with my concealer. Now, to get perfect concealer, we're going to want to put the least amount possible. Okay, so as you can see, I've kind of got hardly no product on, and I'm particularly focusing down on this area because I don't want to put heaps and heaps of product right under my eye where you can crease. So I'm just going to quickly work that in, starting from the bottom of where I've kind of drawn that triangle and then working the product up. So now we've kind of brightened up that under eye area without adding too much product to the under eye area, the direct under eye area, where you're going to get all those fine lines. Okay, so there is the concealer on. As you can see, it's brightened that area of my face, and it's going to look really nice once we contour and everything as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set one eye with the tiniest little bit of powder, and then I'm going to set the other eye just with setting spray. And I'm going to show you what they both look like. Okay, so for the powder, I'm using the Ben 9 Neutral Set Colourless Powder. I like this powder, I don't absolutely love it. I'm just kind of trying to use it up. So what you want to do is I pour out a little bit into the lid here, and then I'm going to dab my brush into it and get the product on the brush, but then I'm going to tap the brush out. So there's just a real tiny bit of product left on the brush. And then I'm going to work that under my eye. Now I'm just going to put it where I crease and just kind of smooth that area out. And that is all I'm going to do. I don't like applying my powder with the Beauty Blender. I've tried before, but it kind of, especially, maybe it doesn't work well with that Ben Nye colourless powder. It kind of gets stuck in certain areas and then it doesn't budge. So I prefer to use a brush. This brush is the Real Techniques setting brush. I really like the shape and size of this. Now for the other side, I'm going to take my my Urban Decay All Nighter Makeup Setting Spray. And I'm just going to spray the tip of my Beauty Blender. And then I'm going to go directly under my eye. And there we go. So we have one side set with the translucent powder, just the tiniest amount. And then the other eye set with the Urban Decay setting spray. So to me, they look virtually the same. They look virtually the same. Honestly, if you use the tiniest bit of powder, it really looks nice and natural. And then if you use the setting spray, obviously it's not going to add any cake or powder. So now what I'm going to do is just finish my makeup. I'm just going to contour and put some mascara and some eyebrows on. And then I will be back to show you the finished makeup look. Okay guys, so this is the finished makeup look. I hope you learned how to get flawless foundation today. Just as a bit of an overview, I just wanted to go through a few points. Number one, know your skin, particularly if you have dry skin. You can follow the steps in this video, but you really need to know your skin type, what products work with your skin, and also you need to prep the skin properly for your skin type. That's really going to help your foundation go on really well. Secondly, you need to find products that work really well for your skin and the kind of goal and look that you're going for. For example, when that foundation is great for me because I like a flawless finish and full coverage finish, but I like something that's lightweight and looks, you know, as natural as a full coverage foundation can be. So it's a bit of experimenting and it's a bit of playing with different products, but you know, eventually you'll find what works for you. That goes for the tools as well. So like we did on my face, I did half of my face with the Kabuki brush, and that gave a real a more full coverage finish, whereas the Beauty Blender on this side of my face did a more natural finish and kind of blended in the product a little bit more, so it was more natural looking. So you really do need to experiment and see what you like for the look that you're trying to achieve. Lastly, if you have dry skin, don't think that you have to finish everything with powder. Powder, I was reading about it last night, it removes the oils from your skin and from the makeup so that the powder stays on, so your whole makeup look stays on longer, and the oils aren't kind of, you know, moving the foundation around. So for people with dry skin who naturally don't produce as much oil, you don't really need the powder. So what I would recommend instead is a setting spray, which I'm going to set my face now. I love setting sprays so much. I think they really help your makeup have a nice flawless finish as well. So definitely, I personally, for dry skin, I'm a setting spray person over powder. Okay, so there is the finished makeup look. I really hope you enjoyed that video, and I'm just going to quickly do a little recap of what I really think are important steps to creating a flawless foundation. So number one is to prep the skin and know your skin type. So for example, my skin is dry, so I know that I have to exfoliate in the morning, and that really helps my skin and helps the makeup lay on my skin nice and flawlessly. Also, hydrate, 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 and prime, and give time for those products to set into the skin. Number two, use products that work with your skin and also give you the desired look. For example, if you have redness on your skin, a lot of redness, use concealer under your foundation just to get that extra coverage. If you like a flawless finish but you like it to be natural, use a beauty blender. If you like something more full coverage, use a Kabuki brush, that kind of thing. So you just need to experiment and see what gives you the best results for your skin and the look that you're going for. Also, you have to make sure that you find concealer and foundation that you really love. Number one, that work well on your skin type. For example, the Maybelline foundation works fabulously on my skin, and also gives you the coverage and look that you want. So that is really lightweight foundation, which is why I personally love it. It feels like nothing on the skin. It blends in seamlessly with my skin, but it also covers up the redness and covers up and gives me the flawless base that I'm after. Lastly, if you have dry skin, don't think that you need powder. Setting spray can be your best friend. I personally do use a little bit of powder, like I showed you on my left eye, just the tiniest bit of powder under my eyes, just because I feel like that creases a little bit less than if I don't use anything and I use the setting spray technique. But if you have extremely dry under eyes, I would use the setting spray technique, or even experiment with different concealers that you might not even need to set. There's heaps of products out there, but if you do want to set your makeup and make sure it doesn't move and you have dry skin, I highly recommend setting sprays. Not only does it lock in the foundation, but it also kind of melts everything into the skin, I feel anyway. So especially with things like highlighter and stuff, it makes it look more natural, as natural as a highlight can be. But I think personally it does help melt the products into the skin and help finish off that flawless foundation look. So that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one.